Hello, world. What's up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. Well, folks, the 4th of July is come and gone, which means summer is officially over, and it's time to start talking about going back to school. I'm only half kidding. There's plenty of summer left, but for the next 3 weeks here at Build, we're going to be taking a moment to talk about everything from how to decorate your dorm and get the most out of your new small space to how to stay healthy mentally and physically while at school. It all kicks off today with 3 very special guests. I'm joined here now by Wade Kushner, Liz Schilling, and Nettie Jones. I'll hold for applause. That's right, you better. They are each current college students in varying stages of their journey, and they are going to pull the curtain back just a little bit and share what that transition was like from high school to college. One more time, make a ridiculous amount of noise for Wade Kushner, Liz Schilling, and Nettie Jones right here. Come on. Let me hear it. Welcome to all 3 of you. Thank you so much for being here. How is everybody doing? You doing all right?
Doing good.
Did you have a good 4th? Good holiday?
Yeah.
Yeah, living it up?
Yeah.
Having a good time? Thank you. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. I know this is taking time out of your busy schedule to come here and tell us about your journey and what life's been like for you so far. I'm really excited to go around and just get a feel for what was unique about each of the journeys that you've embarked on thus far. Since this is about the transition from high school to college, let's start from the very, very beginning here. Tell me about the moment when you found out where you were going to go and what you were going to do. We'll start here with Liz.
Okay, so I'm at NYU for Tisch Film and TV, and I applied ED1 to NYU because I knew I really wanted to go there. And the moment that I found out, I was FaceTiming one of my closest friends, and I just cried a lot. And it was
Tears of joy.
Tears of joy, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I was over the moon.
NYU?
Yeah. No, I was exactly. Why me? No, I was over the moon. I was so excited. But I actually was a little taken off guard because I spent my first year of freshman year in London through a program through NYU, and I did not expect that in my acceptance letter when they said, you can come, but you have to go to London first.
So that's interesting. They told you were going to London first.
Yeah.
You didn't seek out that program and do that.
No, it's because I applied undecided for my major that they were like, undecided. We'll send you abroad. And I was like, okay.
To London.
Yeah, exactly.
You
So so I was very excited, but also very nervous all of a sudden because, my plan of what would have happened when I got in was all of a sudden very shifted.
Yeah, very much. We're going to dig into that in a minute. Let's keep going down the line. Nettie, what did you do when you found out? Where are you going?
So when I first applied, I applied to a couple local colleges back at home, and college wasn't really a big thing for me. I was just like, okay, I'll go. I'll get my degree, whatever. So I applied to Eastern Illinois. Did 2 years there, realized it wasn't really for me, so I actually reapplied to NYU. And it was the only college I applied to. And it was, I was living on the edge. And I came here for an audition, and it was just in general, I was like, okay, I'm either going here or I'm just not going to go.
Do you remember what it was about Eastern Illinois that you were like, not for me? Why it was that you wanted to get out of there?
Well, Eastern is kind of located in a small area, and I've always been a city person. So being in such a small area, in such a small community where you literally know everyone was not the best fit for me. Yeah. So it definitely, moving here was tremendously bigger impact.
Was there, when you found out where you were going, and similar to Liz's story of oh, I'm really excited, but also this is kind of a scary moment, was there a moment where the excitement subsided and it became scary, or were you just kind of going along for the ride? What was it like?
Oh, yeah. When I applied to NYU and I finally got accepted, and let me tell you, I got accepted in May because I applied to the wrong college.
What do you mean you applied to the wrong college?
So I'm a performance major, and so I was like, okay, let's apply to the Performance School of Tisch. Not true. The music department's in another school. So
did you get into the wrong college?
Yeah, well, they were like, okay, well, she auditioned, but we don't have anything from her. And Tisch was like, hi, we have this random person. Wow. But after that all happened and I got accepted, I was like, woo. But then I was like, oh, but money. So, and then where am I living? I'm moving so far away.
There's all that stuff to figure out. We'll get to that.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. Wade, what about you, man?
I was on one of those bulk budget Euro trips with one of my best friends. It's the whole high school group for it. And because of the time difference, I didn't find out till like 1 a.m. or something like that. So I'm going through, and all my friends who also applied are all like, "Oh my God, I got in! Oh, awesome! We should figure out where we're living." And I'm just like, "Oh, this will be embarrassing if I don't," because I'm in a group chat specifically dedicated for that, and all my friends got in. So I'm like, keep refreshing it. My parents tell me it came in. It's not really loading for me. I'm like, okay, don't open it. I want to find out first. I don't want to do that thought. It's like, so none of it's loading because of like, it just isn't coming up for like the area I'm in.
So did they know before you?
So, well, they end up checking. Like, okay, we checked. We went forward with it against your wishes. You got in, though, so I didn't care. Me and my friend are screaming. We're jumping around. The teacher that was with the trip came, knocked on the door, and said, "What's going on, boys?" And I'm like, "Oh, I got in my dream school." And he's like, "Okay, congratulations. Go to bed. We have a long day." So, but yeah, no, that was like forever since I was like 6 and I knew about NYU. I was like, oh, I guess I'll go there. And then I learned about what an absurd standard that was to have. And then like it happened. So I came out like not a changed person, assuming I was right for that expectation.
That's a pretty amazing thing, though, to have that in your head from that early on in your life, and to be able to realize that and make that happen and say, "Oh, I'm going to NYU and I'm doing it." You know, you bring up a funny thing with your parents. In general, how would you describe the way your parents handled that moment for you? Like, we found out, okay, wait, so yours read the letter for you. That was out of necessity. What was it like when you told your parents, or did your parents find out with you, or how were they supportive of your transfer? All of that.
So Eastern was like 2 hours away from home. So my mom was just like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Like, I'll help you move and everything. Like, she was really cool about it. When I applied and got accepted at NYU, it's obviously a bigger move, like more money, and just like in general, just like a huge change. And so first she was like, what do you, no? Like, she's like, okay, but why? And like, she like actually sat me down. She's like, you need to actually make sure that this is the right thing for you. So she was and then once I was like, yeah, I actually want to do this, she was like, okay, let's go. And she like drove with me and just like everything.
And she came to you with that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was like, oh, I was kind of on the fence. I was like, oh, but I really want to go. Like, it's New York, blah, blah, blah. But she was like, okay, but let's.
Do you remember like any of the things that like she asked you to kind of help you clarify like your like plan, like talking to her? Did you come away from that conversation feeling better about this is what you want to do because you talked to her?
Yeah, I did. One of the biggest things with our family is money. And Eastern, like leaving there, I probably had maybe like $2,000 in debt. And so like coming here, it was just going to be a lot, like a bigger scale. So that was something where she's like, you have to realize that like we can't like financially pay for this, so you're going to have to take out loans and everything. So she made me really conscious of the fact that like money was a big thing. And also the fact that like you're going to be by yourself. Like, you know, I had my sister here, but like, you know, so she really like helped me talk me through everything with like the big move.
That is when it starts to get real. Like when you apply, you get in, and it's like you have to pay for it. That's one of the first big wake up calls, like finding the money for it. And then as we'll get to, just like when you're on your own, when you get out there and it's like happening for real. Liz, what about your parents? You were going to London.
Yeah,
nobody knew that was happening until you.
No, no one knew that was happening, and they were not happy. It actually was a very sad moment for me when I told them, because I was so excited about it, regardless of the fact that I was going to London, and that was like very scary. And they were kind of just like, what? Yeah. So it was disappointing because they knew that it was what I wanted, like more than anything in the world, and yet like they were not excited for me at that time. So it like, you know, made me really sad because it was what I had wanted for so long. Probably like 2 weeks after I got accepted and they talked with me about it. I mean, my parents had lots of conversations between the two of them and with me, and they kind of decided like, okay, you're a very independent person. If this was literally any other kid, we would say no. But this is your dream school, and like we know that you can do this and that you'll be okay. So like if this is what you want, we will support you in it, which I was very lucky for. But it was a rough 2 weeks to have them be not excited about where I was going to college. But they came around, and
but that was about the time, 2 weeks. Like
it was about
for everyone to kind of.
It was about 2 weeks. My mom was definitely like super afraid. I think that I'm the oldest child in my family, and like obviously the first person to go away to college. So she was just absolutely terrified to be losing me to begin with, or losing me, but to be that far away now, she was like, oh my God, because you know, I'm from Philadelphia, so New York is 2 hours away, and London is 3,000 miles away, so it's, you know, it's far. But I mean, again, like the conversation was more, if you are not the way that you are and independent and self-sufficient and somebody who, can roll with the punches, we would not let you go. But you are. So, we'll see how it goes and we'll support you in it, which was great.
It's a pretty amazing opportunity to be able to do that. And it sounds like all of you had like really great relationships with your parents and like those conversations that were very much a necessary part of the process. They had to talk to you about how they felt about your success and what it meant for them. How were they once you were gone, once you were there? Now it's the first night, it's the first week. Are they calling you every night? Are you calling them? Was there a guideline set up of how we're going to communicate while you're gone? Did you play it by ear? What was it like remaining tethered but having your freedom? You want to start?
I was a pretty active caller, especially my freshman year. Mostly because, both my parents, but especially my mom too. Like, I knew she was kind of, even though my older brother was already at college and stuff too, like, she was kind of adjusting to the idea of everyone starting to, like, go on to the next part of their lives. And for the most part, it was a very good amount because I'd still try to get dinner with them because we lived nearby. Although she just, like, kept sending me things. Like, would send, like, just, like, Tupperware and stuff. And I'm like, Mom,
what you need.
I'm living on a bunk bed, like, in my NYU dorm. Where do you think I'm having this space for, like, 4x4 popcorn bins?
Where were they sending it from? Because you guys are relatively local, right?
Yeah, so I grew up in Westchester, so like it was just kind of sending it from there.
So 30 miles away.
Exactly. So like, and like when I've had to move in the past, like it's been a huge help of like they come in, help me drive stuff over. Yeah. So like that's definitely been a huge convenience. Also just knowing they're not too far away, I get to meet up with them. Whereas like both my siblings, my brother was in DC, my sister was in New Orleans, so like I was kind of the one hovering nearby.
Impracticability, the lack of practicability with what I'm trying to say is that, you know what I'm saying, the 4x4 tin of popcorn, put that aside for a second, that it's not the most practical kind of thing to send. What was your favorite thing that she would send? There had to be something you're like, you know what, this is annoying, but I'm glad I have this.
Having a bagel cutter, like specifically, the thing you push down for it.
Kitchen gadget.
Yeah, because
time saver.
You don't realize it till you have like that awful set of silverware you and your roommates buy, where it's like you're cutting a bagel and you kind of get the corner of it, and by the time you're done, you're just like, I don't want breakfast anymore. So no, that was a big plus. I also love my family very much, and it was nice seeing them. But the bagel cutter, let's lead with that.
That was the takeaway from the larger experience, was the bagel cutter.
A knife works too.
No, but the thing is, maybe this is saying more about me, but I'm just saying we had like a really awful silverware set, and often I would try to use a butter knife for this, and I would just start questioning my decisions.
Well, that's part of that growing up process of learning the specific difference between a butter knife and perhaps a bagel cutter. But let's get, what about your parents, everybody's parents? I want to get an idea of what that was like, because not just for you, but for them, and maintaining the relationship while you were so far away, but without overstepping boundaries.
Yeah, so what I realized, freshman year is when you call your parents a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, like you just had that close relationship, and then sophomore year, it's like the complete opposite.
Dropped
you
right
just
off.
Yeah, you're like, your parents are like, hello, are you still alive? And you're like, yeah, I'm with my friends, Mom, go away.
I got it.
Yeah. And then like juniors, like by your senior year, you're like, man, I need to call my mom. Like this is like I miss her.
And then it never goes away.
Yeah, and then like from then on, but sophomore year is like 1 year where it's like I have like established friends, like I found my place. I don't go away. Like, but then you realize you're like, oh no, I need my parents.
Yeah, Wade's use of an active caller is definitely what I would describe myself. I talk to my mom all the time, and I'm not sorry about it. My mom and I were always close, like when I was growing up, but it definitely took me moving away for us to really I think solidify like the best parts of our relationship. And now my mom is my best friend, of course, but I talk to her all the time. And when I was abroad, it was a little harder because of a time difference. Then, I have to, we really have to coordinate, who's where and what's everybody doing. But honestly, like the thing that my parents always talked about whenever they were talking to me on the phone when I was in another country, on another continent, is like, we would never been able to do this, like, 20 years ago. Like, this is so crazy that like I can FaceTime you and like you were there, and you know, like it's just really, really crazy. I was super sad to leave when I like originally when I was going to London, because obviously like, you know, you're kind of leaving a large chunk of your life behind for a while. And I was really lucky. My parents actually came to London with me to move me in, which was a blessing.
Oh, wow.
And I was very, very lucky to have them there. But as soon as they left, man, oh man, was
that must have been heavy.
very sad. Yeah, especially because you just like, you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
So not like you don't know anybody at a normal school too, but like when, you know, you're in another country and everything is just so foreign, no pun intended, but it's just so strange. And so when they left for the first time and they were going back to the United States, I was just like, I was a mess.
Yeah.
It got easier, but I definitely kind of still felt that tension every time I went back to London. So like second semester was almost harder than my first semester to go back, because I was like, oh man, I've been here for a semester. Now I got to do it all over again instead of coming back. But like, you know, every time I kind of went back, I would miss them a ton, but you know, you kind of would get into the groove again.
Was there ever a moment where you were like, I'm okay with this now? Like it hurt a little bit less each time, but
yeah,
like,
absolutely. I would say that actually my second semester I went back, and going there, I was like crying on the plane. Like I was so upset and I didn't want to go, and I was like, this is so much and I just want to be at home, and I just spent like 6 weeks at home with my parents for Christmas.
Like a taste of being back.
Exactly. So I was like, no, don't take it from me. But once I got back there second semester, I was like, you know what? I have this much amount of time left, and I'm gonna make the most of it. And I have all these friends here who I love, and I've like, you know, made all these memories. And this isn't such a scary place anymore, because I lived here for 5 months, and now I'm about to live here for another 5 months. So exactly, it's much more familiar.
You guys weren't in London, but you still had to go and come back and things of that nature. Did you have a similar experience of like going back home and not wanting to have to go back for that second semester, or were you excited to go back? Like, how do you connect to that?
It was a weird thing because obviously I have to take a plane to go home. It was weird because it's like, oh, like I miss my family and I'm there and I'm like, okay, this is relaxing. But after like a couple days, especially like my junior and senior year, I was like, I kind of want to go back, you know? And it's just like, it's a different atmosphere. Like when you're with your parents, when you go home, it's just, you're very relaxed and you're like, okay, like, you know, I don't have to spend money. Like, you know, I can just chill, watch TV. But then you're back and you're like, okay, well, time to move my life, like keep moving forward, which, you know, is the whole thing about college. Like you want to keep moving forward. So, yeah, I always had that weird relationship.
And wait, you lived here. You dormed in the city, even though you were from Westchester. Because I from Westchester, I went to FIT. I actually commuted back and forth. It was a nightmare. I wish I dormed, but they had like a whole thing. It's not about me. The point is, you did dorm here. So did you find yourself going back, hopping on the Metro North and going back home whenever you needed something to do laundry, something stupid? Or did you try to keep yourself in the city and stay independent?
You know, because I was basically coming into the city since I was 15 for either, like, I did some shows here or, like, I had a shoot going on. So, like, I was kind of mentally preparing for the idea of, like, being a city boy. So I would try to, a lot of times I would definitely get dinner with my parents, like, when they would come into the city and I'd go back. And my first year was very interesting because my sister was still in high school. And, like, it was kind of weird, like, checking in with her, knowing, like, oh, yeah, much of my high school experience was, like, the idea of, like, oh, there's still, like, a normal kind of house operation going on. And then kind of, like, you know, I'd say it was weirdly harder for me to kind of stay in touch with my siblings and my parents because I'd been used so many times, like, being away and talking to my parents and calling them up. But that's not really an obligation you think of with siblings. So it would be weird to call home and talk to my sister and be like, oh, she's kind of talking to me the way we talk to, like, uncles on their birthday on the phone. And it's like, I don't know how to stop this, but it's weird. So I would just say, like, I'm not an uncle, like, when she would do that. And luckily, like, we fixed a lot of that. But, you know, that's something that's weird because it's not something you think as much. Because that's a relationship that just changes a lot. Because you also just start to think of, like, you know, how much do my parents see their siblings outside of, like, family gatherings and Thanksgivings and stuff. And it goes from somebody you see, you know, pretty much every day to, like, this person that, like, you're still very close to. But it's like, oh, the general operation of people throughout my day-to-day life is kind of changing, and that sort of sneaks up on you.
Yeah. What else in sort of like that category of like expectations that you had that you were surprised by, things that were unexpected, things that you thought were going to be one way, and then you're living it and you're like, oh man, I didn't even see this coming. This came out of left field.
Well, I definitely thought that I was going to hate London. Like, I definitely was like, I'd been there before I traveled there with my family and I really liked it. And then I was like, I don't want to live there. Like, that's crazy. Like, no. And then honestly, like I came out of it and I love that city and it has like such a special place in my heart because of that. And, I had, ups and downs my freshman year, like anybody in college does. And, when you go through those things, I think that you have this expectation that like you're going to come out of it and only see like that it was really, really terrible. And it totally was not. Like I had this expectation that I wasn't going to make any friends and that I wasn't going to like, living there and that I was going to feel very alone. And then you realize like, oh, everyone is in that position. Yeah, all 80 other kids in my class are also feeling that exact same way. And I think that it really helps, especially in that kind of a program, to bring everyone together and to like make you feel significantly less alone.
Well, that's one of the things that like I think is universal, regardless of where you go or how far away you are or not, is that everyone's anxious that I'm not going to know anyone there. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. This was really exciting like 2 months ago when I got the letter, but now it's real and I'm alone in this. Yeah. But then you get out there. Were there things that you pushed yourself to do to meet people? Did it happen a lot more easily than you expected? Did you have to make that happen?
At Eastern, like I said, it felt very much like high school. So everyone knew everybody. It was so easy, especially like the music department, for instance, was one building. So I saw everyone all the time. So it's so easy to make friends.
What about when you got out here?
Very hard.
Talk about that.
So there's like a music building, but there's also like a building like on 14th Street, and then like there's just
totally
everywhere.
Different planet. Yeah.
Yeah. So it definitely like you have to put yourself out more whenever you meet new people and make those experiences, especially in like a bigger college like NYU. Yeah. But at Eastern, you could just like sit like outside a classroom and then like you'll be like, oh, okay, I've seen you every day, now I can finally talk to you.
Was that like a challenging thing for you, having come from that environment where you're like it just kind of happened? I was just there and I had friends. Now I'm in this place where I really got to try to like find people. Like, what did you do to navigate that?
Well, it was actually kind of it was actually easier to, I say it was harder, but it was easier mentally to make friends here, because one of the things that I struggled with at Eastern was the fact that in that area, if you were alone, like on a Saturday night, you were like a loser. You didn't really have any friends, so you had to like be constantly talking to people. Yeah. And then you get to NYU and like, I live like in Brooklyn this past year. I'm not like I'm going to Brooklyn. I'm going home. I'm not going to take an hour to go see you sometimes on a Saturday night. So it was just like a lot easier mentally to just like meet people and just like, because it's like, okay, I don't have to see you every day. I like, it's like a thing.
You all had roommates, right? Like you all.
Yeah.
Did you guys share the bagel cutter? Did you?
It was open season, so I'm sure somebody went for it.
Fair use bagel cutter. Whoever has a bagel,
definitely keep the bagel cutter. Someone will like steal that.
Was that easy for you guys? Because for some people that just kind of clicks. The roommate thing, it just works. For other people, it can be really. Oh, there you go. See, it can be a challenge. Yeah. That's like that's another one of those first real world. I'm stuck in this room with this person and I have to figure it out kind of thing. Nutty, I can feel a story based on your physical reaction to that suggestion. But how did you go through that? What was that experience like? Living with somebody for the first time that wasn't family, having to make it work. What was your conflict that you had to resolve?
So first things first, I have learned I cannot sleep in the same room as another human being. That's
That's 2 votes for that.
I can live in an apartment with or a dorm with 5 people. But if I have my own room, I'm fine. Yeah. I will deal. But no, my roommate experiences, especially my freshman year, it was just really bad. We ended up we're not talking anymore. It was just it's fine.
That's just it. It is fine.
Yeah, because you move on and you're not going to keep every friend that you have from freshman year.
Didn't end in a lawsuit or anything like that. You just don't talk anymore. You're adults. You've moved on with your life. You worked through it the way that made sense for both of you.
Yeah, it's fun.
I feel like Nettie, like I feel very seen right now. Like I think that when you say like, oh, I can't, like I'm not good with roommates, or like I can't be in the same room with somebody else, like people kind of assume that you're very petty or like that you're like hard to live with, and I think that's terrible because there are definitely like some people who have the personality where like they should not be with another person, whether it's like that they're not really a good roommate, or you're the kind of person where like you're very introverted and you really, you know, like having somebody else in the room with you at all points in time is very stressful. I had a not necessarily as bad as what seems like happened to you. My roommate and I probably would have been very, very good friends had we not lived in the same room as each other, because we just had totally different lifestyles and like ways in which we operated throughout the day, which made it so difficult to kind of like gel as friends at all. And so like we ran into a lot of issues being like, yeah, like if you could not listen to things out loud while I'm doing homework, like if you could not study at 11:45 at night with the lights on while I'm trying to go to sleep, like things like that, where
If you could not kick me out of my room at like 2 a.m.
That never happened to me, but that is, I know people that did happen.
That's a real thing.
But, you know, like you run into issues like that where like, you know, it could be a really, really big issue or it could be a small issue. But if you have a roommate where like your style of living truly, like no matter like, you know, your background, like where you come from, what you're used to at home, like it really does matter. And you can definitely tell, you know, when you live with somebody like, you know, okay, you're a great person, I just should never live with you. We should not live together at all. And I'm very lucky, like, I ended up, you know, after my freshman year, I moved in with one of my best friends, and we had two singles instead of sharing the room. And like, we were both kind of nervous as to whether or not we would get the single rooms. And we were like, thank God, because, you know, we were so worried that if we had to share a space that it would tear apart our friendship. Yeah. And we haven't had to, which is very good. And now I enjoy living with my friends, so it's great.
Oh yeah, that's like a big thing. Just like make sure if you're like, if you want a room with your best friend, it's gonna be difficult. Like she's your best friend, they're your best friend. Like it's like, oh, this is gonna be perfect. Like we love each other. Blah blah blah. There will be a time where you will loathe her or loathe him with all certainty, just because you live together. Yeah.
Wait, who did you come to hate?
Let's see. Myself. No.
It's a rite of passage at this point.
I had a very unique freshman like dorm roommate situation. So I was at this place where I had one roommate, and we were both on like this twin bunk bed, and then we were also like in a larger suite where we shared like a kitchen and bathroom with other people. So there was another like two people to our left, and then someone with a single to our right. And it was really a unique group of people. So like there was one kid who was like from New Jersey. He was like super into kind of like, he's super nice. So I'm not trying to like paint a broad picture, but like he was like very into like kind of, he started like rushing frats, and he was really into sports marketing. And then the person who was in my room, he was from Beijing, and like his family were like, I can't remember what they did, but they were like very well off. I remember I moved in and I had like my two sneakers, like one pair of dress shoes, and like he had the nicest shoes, but it's such a unique thing where they were kept like kind of just like all over the place, but like the nicest things in the world, many of which he left behind. And then also, like, one of my dearest friends, lovely boys, lived there, who I still keep in touch with. He's one of the sweetest. And then also this one guy who was very into music production, and he's from LA, and just, like super nice, but, like, kind of, like, just very cool in a way that, especially if you're interested in, like, kind of, like, the arts and entertainment field, can be really intimidating, where he's super talented and merits, like, the success he has, but, like, he also, like, has like a shit ton of connections. So like he went like to prom with Judd Apatow's daughter and stuff like that, to where it's just like, I met my weatherman at the A&P. Like it starts to like pressure in on you. So, but we all like got along, but it's definitely, I'd say freshman year the most, at least, because after that, like I really chose who I lived with, and it was like people I was very close with. But like from that particular like moment on, like it was very unique kind of seeing like everybody having their own walks of life all kind of under the same place.
Was any of that disappointing in terms of what you thought you were walking into, and then you met all this cavalcade of crazy characters, and like, or did you kind of at that time maybe you were disappointed, but now you look back and you're excited and you're happy to have had that experience because of what it's highlighted for you moving forward? Like, what did you think when you walked in and that's who you were living with? This is it for the next semester, for the next year. This is who I got to deal with.
Yeah, no, it was like a good experience, but I also realized like I kind of pushed through so many things because I'm like, oh, this will be so funny later. to where like I'm kind of fine with whatever. But no, we all got along and it was cool to get to know because like these are people that like I guess now because I kind of like will get to meet people a bit outside my realm a bit more. But like especially then coming from my high school, like it was good to meet all these people that like had a totally different focus on what was going on, and kind of just getting to see each other during this very pivotal time we all were sort of sharing. So yeah, no, I definitely feel like that was a very valuable experience.
What is, as we come to the end here, we've covered, finding out where you were going. We've covered getting there. We've covered dealing with the beginnings, the withdrawal from home, the dealing with the roommates. What is something, in retrospect, a bit of advice that you would give your younger self if they could go back and do this nightmare all over again? What would you say? We're live.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No pressure. Something that I would give my younger self advice on would probably be like, don't sweat it. Yeah. Like one of the biggest things that I've learned throughout my journey through college is that stressing over all the little things, all the little due dates is just like, it's not worth it, It's not worth the mental like struggle that you have. And especially my sophomore year, I definitely got into that place where I like at one point I had a concert on this day and I had like 5 like papers of homework that had to be due, and I was like freaking out. I was just in a practice room just like crying, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I've overstressed myself. But now looking back, like I will never put myself in that situation because it's like I'm stressing over too much stuff, and there's always someone there that can help you through it.
Yeah, I feel like in a similar way, like one of my biggest issues when I was abroad is that feeling of like I'm going to be alone, like I'm not going to have any friends. And I think that for some people, including myself, it kind of forces you into being friends with people that you would not have normally been friends with. And then, you have issues because these people are not your normal crowd and you're trying to fit in and it's not really working, and you're not gelling, and but you're trying so hard because you're so afraid of not having anybody at all.
Right.
And I think that, something that I would have probably loved to have heard from someone older than me is like, hey, if you have 1 or 2 like really solid friends, that's enough. And you'll find more people. I mean, even coming to New York, like holding that with me, just kind of, be more yourself and know yourself a little bit better to, find new friends. Like it made finding friends when I came back to New York, like infinitely easier and much less stressful because I wasn't so preoccupied with like needing friends as opposed to finding really, really good people that I really enjoyed being with and that like made me feel good about myself and the things that I was doing.
That's great. Wade, a lot of pressure. Those were great answers.
I guess I just say like you will find your family there, especially early on freshman year. Like, I guess I don't know if it's just because like you have it in your idea. I guess compared to all these shows where like you see like, oh yes, this established base of people with contracts for years to be together, you assume you will find that and it will stick. Like I kind of was in the mindset like, oh, it's okay if I don't feel that right away, but when I do, it's definitely gonna be it. Like I remember like feeling that for the first time, be like, oh, these will be the people that, like come to my wedding and all this stuff and will be in each other's lives. And like you forget like everyone's like 18, 19 and like you still like are learning a lot and you'll be like kind of shitty. And like I remember like there'll be people where like for 2 months like it would be like one of the closest people in my life and I'd be like more vulnerable with them than I've been with anybody. And then like at a certain point you're just like, oh, this person kind of would just like not even like in a falling out, just like, oh, this person would rather have me not play that role anymore. And initially that was super hard for me to adjust to. But I'd say as time goes on, just like I guess be open to the way those things evolve, and the people that are really important to you and that you really connect with will stay around and that will grow. And the people that don't can still mean a lot to you and can still, I guess, like help you to grow. But, they don't have to be a permanent fixture in your life.
That was really good. You did it.
Thank you.
You rose to the challenge. No, I could tell. I saw the wheel spinning. Paid off. Is there, you mentioned briefly, is there a TV show or movie you guys have seen that has come close to nailing what the experience was like, or something where you saw it and you were like, that's how I felt, or no, nobody's gotten it right yet?
Yes. I got to call out my girl, Yara Shahidi, in her show Grownish. I just like, her college experience is like, it's not all like, oh, like look at all my friends, like no, it's like drama. It's like just like you're overstressed, you're overworked. At one point she's taking Adderall and she's like, her character is one of those characters that like doesn't do drugs or anything. So
Great show, yeah.
yeah, so it definitely the show really shows you that college and just like the stress can just like push you, and definitely something that I have felt throughout my years.
Yeah, I recently saw Booksmart, and while that takes place pre-college, my best friend and I went and saw that, and when we were like, why is this literally about us? Like, that's hilarious, which was fun and hilarious. But I think that in a similar way to like what Nettie was saying, like I myself in high school was like the tightest wound ball of stress you could possibly find. And this movie is all about, you know, like two girls that are like that, you know, kind of being like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like we spent this whole time being stressed and the other kids still got into good schools. Like what? And I think that it was more like I watched it and I said, you know, this is really funny, and I'm glad that like I can look back and like laugh about some of the things that I did when I was younger, where I'm like, oh my God, like that is cringy. Like I was very stressed and I should not have done this or this. But I think that experience like really got what it's like to, you know, be stressed about getting into college, to get into college, to be excited about leaving, but then like not leaving your friends. And I think, you know, it kind of tugged at all of the right, like dramatic, but also hilarious parts of, you know, leaving home and entering the next chapter of your life.
Yeah, it's hard for me to think of like a perfect like one-to-one, but I'd say something that really relates to how I felt during that like kind of week leading up to the first classes starting is Richard Linklater's Everybody Wants Some. Yeah. To where like obviously like I was not, I say obviously, but you know why I'm going to say obviously. I was not a baseball star. And just the idea of like in that time where you kind of go from like these different social gatherings and these parties, and I think I spent a lot of my high school, especially like the latter half of it, like being very like friendly and close and being, I think, liked by a lot of people that were like, I don't know, popular or just very active, but I didn't feel like I was one of those people. I felt like I was witnessing a lot going on and commenting on it, but I wasn't the one experiencing it. And I feel like that movie just kind of like shows an interesting way of like this shift of being kind of an active participant in your life. And I also think it's a cool way to sort of be open to experiences and also getting to know people that you I don't know, maybe things seem a little bit forced the fact that you're together, like be it roommates or be it like if you're part of a sports team or a frat, but the idea of building something meaningful beyond that like organized partnership.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting this signal. I got to wrap things up, but I want to genuinely and sincerely thank all three of you for coming out here. You know, we were talking before. What are we going to talk about? What is this thing going to be? And I said I just wanted you to come out and be honest and be yourselves and just tell your stories. And you did exactly that, and I sincerely appreciate that. And I think for a lot of people, it's going to help to just hear what three really smart, really cool people went through and what your journeys were like. And for sharing them, I am very grateful, as I believe this audience is as well. So. If everybody can do me a favor, I want to make a lot of noise and thanking our panel here. Wade Kushner, Nettie Jones, and Liz Schilling. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and hang out with us today. How about you put your hands together? Show them how much it means to you. Thank you guys so much.